Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anthony Bradley. I am the Regional Director for Macquarie University, looking after Africa and Europe. Now, first of all, I have to apologize for my office behind me. It's a little bit of a mess. We're all at home at the moment. So excuse my mess in the office. I will be sharing the screen very, very shortly. But before I start, I can see that there are 16 of you watching. I hope you can understand my English okay. My Turkish is Şöyle böyle. İstanbul'da çalıştım. I'm an English language teacher and I used to live in Kadıköy in Istanbul. So before I start with the presentation, there are 4 little tabs in the right-hand corner of your screen. Chat, questions, polls, and people. I wonder, please, in the chat section, would you like to just introduce yourselves? Tell me where you are. Nerelesiniz? Where are you actually tuning in from? So it would be very interesting to see where you're all actually calling in from. So let's just wait until we've got Istanbul from Burçe. Where are the rest of you from? Don't be shy. I can't see you. I can't hear you. Istanbul, Selime. Yeah, İzmir. Very nice, Bora. Oh, Kocaeli. Oh, very nice. Oh, you're all over the country. Fantastic. Hi, Niaz. Konya. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Niaz. In Konya, that's where you have the spinning people, the whirling dervishes, we call them in English. Denizli, Istanbul, Uşak. Wow, you're from all over the place. Oh, well, look, that's fantastic. Well, look, welcome to this webinar. I'll try to keep it as informal as I can. I'm here to actually inform you a little bit about studying in Macquarie University. Lütfü is in Istanbul, Esin in Istanbul, Bursa, Sefa, okay, fantastic. So I'm here to try and give you a little bit of information about studying at both Australia and in Istanbul. In Macquarie University, which is in Sydney, sorry. So first of all, I'm going to share my screen. And just one moment. Oh, sorry. Let me just put the... So, as I mentioned to everybody before, my name is Anthony Bradley. I'm the Regional Director for Africa and for Europe, which is a large part of the world to look after. And I'm actually based in the UK. I have been spending a lot of time in Turkey and in Istanbul simply because we are seeing a lot more interest coming out of Turkey for students wanting to go to Australia to study. Now, Macquarie University is based in Sydney. Now, that picture you can see there is the city of Sydney. It is not the capital city. It's the largest city. It's the economic and industrial driver of the Australian economy. But in addition to being, a hard-working place and a fantastic place to study, it's also a very, very nice city to live in. There are about 5.5 million people that live in Sydney, which gives it a lot of opportunity. There's a fantastic lifestyle. The weather in Australia is very warm. Sydney people think it's cold in the winter, but from a European perspective, it doesn't really get cold. The weather is generally quite nice, which means that it has a very outdoor lifestyle. So once your pen goes down and the office door shuts, you've got access to a lot of really wonderful spots. You've got barbecues down by the beach. You've got a water, sort of a harbor you can walk around, lots of different sort of museums and pubs and clubs and restaurants. So it's a very, very nice place to actually sort of lend itself towards your lifestyle. It's a very multicultural population in Sydney. 1 in 4 people in Australia was not born in Australia. So 25% of the people in Australia are migrants to that country. There is a very high level of safety. Okay, so despite it being a city of 5.5 million people, it's got a very, very low crime rate and a very high employment rate. I'm talking about employment. As an international student in Australia, you will have access to a student work visa, which allows you to work while you study. And as long as you complete 2 years of a program, you will actually be able to stay in Australia for 2 years when you finish. So these are some of the activities you can get up to. You've got the Sydney Opera House. Everybody should try surfing. In Istanbul and parts of Turkey, you may be able to do a little bit of surfing, but not quite the style you can in Australia. You've got underwater aquariums, wonderful walks around the city. You've got beaches that line each of the area around the harbour of Sydney. And the bigger beaches all have these pools that you can see. And of course, you've got open air cinemas and everything. So in terms of lifestyle, Sydney has a wonderful, welcoming atmosphere. It's warm, it's friendly, there are great work opportunities. And the reason I'm telling you is because you do not want to be just study, study, study, study. You want a healthy balance. And that is something that Australians do very, very well indeed. They work in order to live, not the other way around. Now, a little bit about Macquarie University. Why Macquarie University? So Macquarie University is located in the northwest of Sydney, and it is on 126 hectares of land. It's a huge campus, and I'll show you a picture of the campus in a minute, but I just want to give you a little bit of a snapshot into the information about the university. It was established in 1964. It has 40,000 students. 25% of those students are international. So the international student makeup of the university reflects the international makeup of Australia itself. It's ranked in the top 1% of universities in the world, number 214 in the world. We have our own train station. We have over 300 companies on campus. Excuse me. And because it's a government university, it's a state university, but the university owns the land itself. Now, what that allows us to do is, if you look at the back section of this picture here, you can see that we have some very large companies on campus. We have Microsoft, Philips, Singtel, Orex. These are companies that rent office space from the university buildings. So what Macquarie University does is that it bears in mind that the reason you're going to university is to get a good job. Now, we teach lots and lots of different programs, but we also have 300 different companies on campus, which gives you a very, very good access if you want to meet potential employers, if you want to stop off and deliver your CV and look for part-time work. There's no guarantee, but because they're on campus, they're very, very close by. In the top of that picture, there's a little bit about our rankings. We're ranked in the top 1% in the world, but probably more importantly is we're ranked number 1 in Australia for graduate employment, which means that a higher number of our graduates find good work when they finish than out of any other Australian university. We've got a 5-star ranking in teaching, employability, research facilities, internationalization, innovation, inclusiveness, and specialist criteria. So what Macquarie spends a lot of time doing is making sure that we're not only delivering good programs, but that the facilities are good, the students are happy, there's good opportunities when you graduate. So I don't want to keep on talking about it too much. It's all very self-explanatory what you can see. But if you look at that picture, this area around here where the road is, around the back of the companies, all the way around to the right-hand side and down into the bottom right-hand side, that is the entire campus. Everything is in a single place. We've got all the university accommodation, the lecture theatres, we have our own private hospital, train station, sports centre, shopping centre. So you name it, it's like a small town. And when we speak to our students and we ask, what is it that you like about Macquarie University? A lot of them will actually say, we like the fact that everything is in the same place. Now, of course, at the end of the day, if you want to go into the city itself, you can hop on the train and you can take one of the trains that go into the city, and then you can go and have a beer or a coffee and you can watch the sunset. So it's a very welcoming place to study and live, but it also gives you access to the areas around. Now, with any university, you have your bachelor's level programs, your master's level programs, your research programs, and at the very top end, you have the industrial application of all that research. So if I can hear that some questions are coming in, everybody, and I will get to your questions at the end. It's just that while I'm doing this presentation, I can't see your questions, but when I stop sharing the screen, I will get to them. So let's have a look at what Macquarie is actually famous for. Now, obviously, you're not going to know all these things. Big History is a course that we offer that condenses the whole of the world history into a short program. We also are world leaders in hearing and audiology inventions. We invented the gamma knife, which is a surgical instrument if you need an operation in a hospital. Now, this one I'm sure you've heard of, Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi was actually invented by the academics and professors at Macquarie University in the early 80s. So what I'm trying to say is that we teach at every level, and at the very top level is how we apply the research into the real world. Now, it's a comprehensive university, which means we are not solely stuck with one area of academia. We teach across the board. Excuse me, that's not a COVID-19 cough, don't worry. We teach business, education, engineering and IT, environment, health and medical sciences, law, criminology, media, science, society, history and languages. And then we have a very special area there for our postgraduate students who want to go into our MBA or our Masters of Management. Now, very quickly, I'm not going to spend a long time on these. Those are our faculties: arts, business economics, human sciences, medicine and health science, science and engineering. Macquarie Graduate School of Management is for our MBA students. And the bottom one there, Macquarie University International College, these are for students who do not meet the entry requirements for direct entry into a bachelor's degree. So for example, if you come out of a Turkish high school and you've done the national exams, the national license in Turkey, you have to spend your first year doing a diploma year, and then you will go into the degree. And that happens at that particular college there. In our Faculty of Arts, huge range of studies: history, anthropology, English, all the way down to policing, intelligence, counterterrorism, sociology. In our business program, accounting, governance, finance, actuarial studies, economics, marketing and management. Medicine, biomedical sciences, professions, health systems and population, cognitive science, education, linguistics, psychology. And then in our science and engineering programs, we have biological sciences, chiropractic, earth and planetary science, 6 different kinds of engineering, physics, astronomy, and statistics. So a very broad area of studies. So that's a little bit of a snapshot into the kind of programs that we offer. Now, obviously, if you are a Turkish student and you hop on a plane and you come over to Sydney, you might be a little bit nervous. Even the postgraduate students, even if you've done a lot of travel, you might be, worried. Oh my goodness, what's it like in Australia? Am I safe? Well, we look after you, so don't worry about that. We will arrange to meet you at the airport. We have something called Campus Wellbeing, which is an entity within the university that helps students that have any kind of problems. If you're having mental health issues, physical health issues, if you have a disability, if you're having financial issues, if you're homesick, if you've got culture shock, anything that is affecting your well-being can be addressed in Campus Wellbeing, where we have trained staff that will sit down and talk you through your problems. We have a medical clinic on campus, of course, because we have a hospital. We also have a numeracy and literacy center if you're having issues with how to structure an assignment or an essay or your research. We also have a career and employment center. So as I mentioned before, all international students are allowed to work part-time while they're studying, and we can help you find part-time work. Now, I mentioned the entry requirements. I don't know how many, we'll get to this in a minute, but I don't know how many of you are actually in high school at the moment looking to do a bachelor's degree, but these are the entry requirements. So if you come out of a Turkish senior secondary school with your devlet lise diploması or your devlet meslek diploması with 2 out of 5, you need to do a 1-year foundation program. 3 out of 5, and you can do an intensive foundation program, which is 7 months. If you get 4 out of 5, you can come straight into the first year of that program through a diploma. And then depending on which diploma bachelor you want to do, you would do a diploma of commerce, which goes into our bachelor's degrees, diploma of engineering, which goes into our science degrees, information technology, which goes into more science degrees, and art, which goes into our arts degrees. Now, this is a nice piece of news for you guys as well. All Turkish students will receive a $3,000 discount from these programs, plus a $5,000 discount per year when they enter the degree. Okay, so what we try and do is we are trying to limit the economic impact on the European students by reducing your fees by about $5,000 per year. Now, let's go back. We've got lots of, we've got Saeed check-in. Hello, sir, I want to join your program. You're more than welcome. Let's have a look at some of the questions that we have. Okay, would it be possible for a student to master computer science coming out the subject of economics? Now, that's from Dogukan Akgungor. The answer to that question is if you're going into a master's degree in computer science, information technology, data science, business analytics, you really do have to have an undergraduate degree with a very high level of statistics. So if you've done statistics in your economics degree, it may be possible to go into data science and business analytics, but it won't be possible to go into computer science. Hopefully that answers your question. And let's have a look. Sefa, do you have any information about Macquarie Language School in Bursa? Oh, I don't know about that. We don't have, Macquarie University does not have any offshore language schools. So if there is a Macquarie Language School in Bursa, then it is not connected to the university. Bora Balchi, which English level certificates do you accept? We take IELTS, we take TOEFL, we take Cambridge, we take Pearson's. Okay, does that answer your question? And from Niaz, you're doing your master's now, you will graduate shortly, and you want information for PhD in technical and engineering departments. Okay, so what we will need to do, Niaz, is that you will need to actually contact, I'm going to put what I'm going to do in the chat forum, I'm going to put my email address, and you can send me an email directly. So Niaz, in relation to your PhD question, it's quite an involved process becoming a PhD candidate. So I'm going to give you my email address. Please feel free to send me an email, Niaz, okay? Let me just send that. Let me just give you my email address. Right, in the chat section is my email. Okay, I want to study scholarships at your school, pre-academic school. Now, Saeed, check in. The only scholarships we have are the $5,000 per year discount, okay? We do not have any full scholarships, unfortunately. So if you want to study in an Australian university, most of them do not have full scholarships. So with Macquarie University, instead of paying the full fee, which is about 38,000 Australian dollars, you will be eligible for a $5,000 discount, bringing it down to $33,000. Alba Mele Malum Omar, you're African. Same thing with you. If you're an African citizen, we have a $5,000 discount for Africans and Europeans. Exactly the same thing, but no full scholarships. Kadir Kizil, PTE English certificate is valid. If it is the academic versions of Pearson's training for English, we do accept it. Okay, what are the scholarships for PhD? Okay, so with a PhD, before you even apply for a PhD, you have to find a supervisor. You have to have identified a supervisor, created a working relationship, and then you submit your application. it is the supervisor's job to find you your funding, your scholarship. So that's got nothing to do with me, I'm afraid. That will be between you and your supervisor. In the chat section, I've given you my email address. Send me an email and I will point you in the right direction. Okay, let me just go down to the bottom. So Niaz, we've answered. Dogukan, we've answered. Okay, Tugay Chomez. I couldn't find any information about industrial engineering. We do not have industrial engineering at postgraduate level. The only thing we have at postgraduate level engineering is electrical engineering, electronic engineering, and engineering management. Okay? Engineering management is a 2-year engineering program which takes some components from the MBA program and trains bachelor's qualified engineers to become engineering project managers. Okay, so instead of getting your hands dirty, you actually tell other people to get their hands dirty. So you become a project manager for an engineering environment. Okay, I want to study scholarships. Hello. Okay, Fatih. How can it be a little bit hard to learn Turkish? Oh, I'm not sure I understand that. Hello, how can it be a little hard to earn college Turkey entrance to the school in high school, Sydney, Tokyo? I'm sorry, Fatih, can you reword that, please? I'm not sure I really understand that question. Inchi, I missed the beginning of part of the webinar. Studying art history, is there a transfer option or a master program? Yeah. So basically, if you're doing art history at bachelor's level now, there is the opportunity to transfer into a Bachelor of Art. Okay, Inchi. But when we transfer from one university to another university, we have to look at exactly what it is that you have studied, and then we map it across into our bachelor's degree. So the more components that you have done that match ours, the more transfer you will get. So you may get 1 year, you may get 6 months, you may get nothing. The other alternative, of course, is to finish your bachelor's degree in Turkey and then start a master's degree with us. And then you can go into a Master of Arts, a Master of Media, a Master of Communications, okay? So your 2 options are transfer, but we don't know how much we transfer until we look at what you've done in Turkey, or finish your bachelor's degree in Turkey and come and do a master's degree with us. Ali Osman Akcan. Do you have operational research and risk analysis course for postgraduate? So if you have a bachelor's degree and you want to do a master's degree in research, that you actually have to apply to do what we call an MRes, a Masters of Research. Now, Masters of Research is a 2-year program. We do have risk analysis, but again, it's a Masters of Research, so it's training you for a PhD. Okay, so basically the message I'm trying to say to everybody here is that if you're interested in research, contact me on my email, and I will fill in the gaps for you, because it's a very involved process, going through a research process. Does the Australian student visa allow to legally working? Okay, Tugay, excellent question. Your Australian student visa contains a work permit which allows you to work part-time, which is no more than 40 hours over a 2-week period. So, for example, if you find a job in McDonald's, and in the first week they say, oh, look, I'm sorry, I can only give you 10 hours. The following week, you can do 30 hours. And as long as that balances out as no more than 40 hours over a 2-week period, the immigration department are quite happy. If you go over that 40 hours, you'll get a knock on the door. During holidays, you can work full-time. And as long as you've done a 2-year program, when you graduate, you can apply for a 2-year post-study work visa. Okay.
Anthony, there's another question in the chat box from Berat.
Okay, let's have a look at it. Can I get information on a batch program? Oh, yes, of course. Berat Güzel. Çok güzel. So, bachelor's degree programs, if you are coming from a Turkish high school and you want to go into a bachelor's degree, depending on which bachelor's, Berat, can you just type in the chat box what kind of area, what program, what academic area are you interested in? Because if you come out of a Turkish high school, you have to do a diploma year first in our university college to bring you up to that level. So if you want to do business, for example, you do a diploma of commerce for 1 year, and then you go into the second year of the bachelor's degree. If you want to do engineering, you do a diploma of engineering, and so on. So yes, we do have bachelor's degrees, and we are beginning to see an increasing number of Turkish students finishing high school and coming to us to do 1 year diploma. So 1 year diploma followed by 2 years of the remaining bachelor's. So you finish in 3 years. It's not a foundation year. It's simply a specialized boosted first year. Computer science, if possible. Yes, Berat. So if you do a diploma, so as long as you finish your high school with a good grade, 4 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5, you come into the diploma of engineering or diploma of computer science, or diploma of information technology. That takes 1 year. And then when you finish this, you come into the second year of a Bachelor of Information Technology, and then you go into the third. So it still takes only 3 years. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, your first year will give you a $3,000 discount, and your second and your third years will give you a $5,000 discount. So over the course of the 3 years, you're actually saving 13,000 Australian dollars. It's not a massive amount. It's not a scholarship or a full scholarship, but it's a fair saving. What is the cost of the bachelor's degree in art? Okay, Inchi. So a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in Australia in Macquarie University is between 36 and 38,000 Australian dollars. But all Turkish citizens will get a $5,000 discount, so it becomes $33,000 per year or $34,000 per year, depending on the program. Fingers crossed, I actually have some good news. This is fingers crossed. Nothing has been signed off yet, but I have written a proposal for next year to have the European discount raised to $10,000 per year. So that's not happening yet, but fingers crossed it will. At the moment, it's 5, but I am hoping it will be $10,000 discount. Does anyone have any other questions? Does anybody have any questions about Australia in general? Nobody. Usually I get a question about sharks or spiders or some of the scary animals that we have. Burçe, do you have any questions? Anything that you'd like me to add?
Yes, I'm wondering about the sharks and insects, actually.
So we have big sharks. So we have big sharks, small sharks. But look, you know, you're far more likely. Actually, let's play I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll play a quick quiz. In the chat, I'm going to ask you a question. And I would like as many of you to answer this question as possible. What do you think is responsible for the most injuries and deaths of international students in Australia? Please type your answer into the chat box there. What do you think is the biggest thing that is the responsible for deaths and injuries of international students in Australia? Have a think about that. Write in your answers, and I will give you the answer at the end of it. Kader Kızıl. Sorry, I missed the first part of the menu. Is there a master's program in health economics? Yes. We are starting next year to look at master in economics with a health specialization. Yes. Bahara Muradi. I'm an Afghan citizen, did my master in MBA in Turkey, working with NGO. Afghan citizens at the moment will have a problem getting a visa in Australia, unfortunately. We don't have full scholarships, I'm afraid, Bahara. And unfortunately, Afghanistan and some other countries have problems getting visas. I've put my email address into the chat section. Contact me directly, Bahara, and I will answer your question, okay? But Afghan citizens getting visas is quite problematic in Australia at the moment. Butcher's got it right. Car accidents. Cars and car crashes are far more likely to cause you problems than sharks or snakes or spiders. So if you're worried about sharks or spiders or snakes, don't be. Question, let's have a look. Okay, Sera Özçelebi. I study at university in Turkey and I want to exchange to Macquarie University. So Sarah, just a quick question about that. When you say exchange, do you mean just 1 year in Australia and then back to your Turkish institution? So like an agreement, or do you mean move from your Turkish university to finish your program in Macquarie? Sarah, can you answer that question and I'll get back to you. Fatih, is there a guarantee of working and reading there? So as I mentioned before, you have a work permit in your student visa. Now, obviously, we can't guarantee you finding a job, but if you are able to find a job, you are legally allowed to work there. Most students who want to find part-time work while they're studying manage to do so, okay? And with that work permit, you are allowed to work completely legally. You pay tax. It's like as if you were living in Australia. Obviously, when your student visa finishes, that work permit stops and you have to apply for a post-study work visa. Inanç, I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, want to do a master's, but it is impossible to pay tuition fees. Do I chance at a scholarship which cover tuition fees? Unfortunately not, Inanç. We don't have any scholarships that cover the full tuition fees. So even though we do give European and Turkish citizens a discount of $5,000, you're still going to need about $33,000 per year for the tuition, plus food, accommodation, transport, and living costs. So that's another $22,000. So you really do need a fairly healthy budget of about $50,000 per year. Okay, climate change impact on water resources and bushfires. Is getting warmer during summertime? That's a really good point. That's from Hilmi Ege. Yes, it is definitely noticeable. I lived in Australia for 20 years and it is getting warmer there. Water resources on the east coast are actually okay. It's a little bit different on the west coast of Australia. It is getting warmer, but people are becoming more and more aware of the situation. So how you adapt, how humans are adapting to it. For example, they are not building so much out in the bush as they used to. People are being asked to monitor their air conditioning usage and things. Increase in solar paneling and natural renewable energies is on the growth. But that's a very, very good point. In fact, climate change science is a very important part of our science programs that we teach at the university. Okay, Sarah, actually both, but mostly I want to move if possible. So if you want to finish your bachelor's degree, Sarah, with us, as I mentioned before, you can make an application for a program. If you're at a bachelor's degree in Turkey, you can transfer to a bachelor's degree in Australia, but we have to look at exactly what you've studied, and we have to map each of the subjects across to what you want to do with us. So, for example, if you're doing a Bachelor of Science, we look at everything that you've studied, and we look at everything that you've applied for, and we map it across. And everything that you have done that we already offer, obviously you don't want to do it twice, so we can cut down the amount that you have to do when you study with us. So the closer the two degrees are, the more transfer credit you get, okay? Hopefully that's clear, but basically we do transfer, yes, but depending on how much is exactly the same, that will determine how much you need to study. We may be able only to transfer 6 months. We may give you 1 year, may give you 2 years, who knows? But we need to look at your transcript first. Berat, well, I'm changed to Açık Öğretim. I don't know the X translation. Last year of my high school and graduated from Açık. Açık means light öğretim. I don't know. Burçe, can you explain that to me? What Berat has just put in?
It's kind of open education. I guess he's talking about high school. open education in high school is like you're not going to school as person, you're going to exams.
Okay.
Like
yes, well, look, like I said, we're a very flexible university, and I'm not going to say no at this point. Berit, what I suggest you do is if you send me an email, in the chat box, you'll find my email address. Send me an email and I can put you in contact with some of the people that we work with in Turkey, and they will be able to help you submit an application. The only thing we need really is to look at a transcript to find out if it meets the entry requirements. As I said, if this açık öğretim, maybe it actually means you can come in directly into a degree. Maybe you have to do a diploma year. So I'm not saying no, we don't accept it, but at this point I don't know. Send me an email, Berat, and I will put you in touch with some people that will be able to help you. Okay, Tugay. Can we apply for a master's program and lecture at the university at the same time? Thus, we can earn the money which is required for the university. You're an entrepreneurial person, I can tell. No, generally, if you're going to do tutoring and lecturing at the universities, you really have to have a PhD and have gone through a process. You may find some part-time work teaching, but it's not something that's easy. It's not something that's even that common, because when you're studying a master's degree, it's full-time study. So it's kind of unlikely that you're going to make enough money part-time to pay for the tuition fees. In fact, when you apply for a visa, very often the visa application people will want to see that you have enough money to support yourself, okay? So I don't want you to start relying on external funding to pay for the tuition fees. You really need to have that in order first. I know it's expensive, but you need to have a solid budget before you do apply. Let's go back to the chat. Let's have a look. Well, okay. All right. So that was Berat again. Does anyone have any more questions? These are all fantastic questions, guys. Really good. Thank you. I've been doing this for many, many years now, and always I think I've heard every question under the sun, and somebody comes up with something I've never heard of, which is great. So what I'll ask you to do is, all of you, I see that there are 29, 30 people online here. I suggest you take down my email address from the chat section. Send me an email. I'm more than happy to answer your questions or talk to you directly or put you in touch with one of our representatives in Turkey. And that way we can actually work on how to get you over there. Is there a university entrance exam, or you can register directly, Fatih? But I do suggest that you, first of all, send me an email and I will put you in touch with the right people. There is a process. The application process can be a little bit administrative. So I do suggest you send me an email first, and then I can talk you through the process of how you make an application. And I can also put you in touch with representatives that we have in Turkey as well, who will be able to sit you down and talk from a Turkish perspective how you submit an application. But there's no, with us for Macquarie University, there's no university entrance exam, and there's no application fee either. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. And Burçe, you're not allowed to answer this one. Can you please tell me what the capital city of Australia is? Whoever writes the capital city down first. Oh, well done, Bora. 5 points to you. You're the winner. I wish I could say you were getting a free scholarship as well, but I think my boss would kill me. Burçe, okay. Okay, here's another question for you in the chat section. Who can write down how many universities are there in Australia? Who can type the first person to get the correct answer? No, Bora, not 25. Nice try. Faiza, that's not even a number. Any guesses? I know hopefully you're all Google searching how many Australian universities are there. Does anybody have any more questions about Macquarie University? 64. Oh, no, it's not 64. Nice try. Does anybody have any? Oh, we got another question. Let's have a look. Sydney, Bahara. Sydney is not the capital now. Sydney, Bahara Muradi is not the capital city. Sorry, that's Melbourne, Tugai is not the capital. -4 points for you. There we go. Okay, Faiza and Safa, you've both got it right. So there are between 42 and 43. Some say 43, some say 42. The reason for the discrepancy is because most of our universities are state or government universities. There is 1 or 2 private universities. Some people don't count. So Faiza, I'm going to go with you, but Safa, I'm going to give you 5 points as well because there are some private universities as well. Oh, I don't actually direct olarak. Okay, that's from Buche. Okay, what other questions can I? Okay, here's a question for you. What was the name of the English sailor who landed in Australia? What was the name of the English sailor that discovered Australia? I guess you're all Googling furiously now. Do you have any other questions, guys, I can answer about the university? So, as I mentioned in the early part of the webinar, there are 42,000 students on the campus. About 25% of those international from over 130 different countries. James Cook, well done. Well done, Tugai. You've been doing your homework. Yes, Captain James Cook. What year did he land? There we go. What year did he land in Australia? So as I said, of all the 40 or so thousand students that we have on campus, we have over 130 different countries represented. So if you're doing a master's degree in commerce or engineering, you may find yourself sitting next to somebody from Brazil, from China, from England, from Nigeria, from Canada. So it's a very, very cosmopolitan mix, if you like. Yes, well done, 1770. Wow. Did you have a history book for breakfast? Okay. Any other questions? Wikipedia, yes. Wikipedia knows everything. Nice one, Tugai. Okay, any other questions, guys? Because so that's like I said, the presentation I gave you is a little bit of a snapshot. Is there anything in that presentation you'd like me to go over again? As I said, it's a comprehensive university. We do bachelor's programs, master's programs. We even have one-year master's programs. So obviously a lot of Turkish citizens, when they come and study with us at postgraduate, they want a 2-year master's degree, but some people don't. Some of our Europeans only want a 1-year master's option, which we also have. Okay.
There are some questions in the questions tab.
Okay, so Inanch, well, you know our money now is very worthless against dollars, so tuition fees are very high. Yeah, I do know. If I wanted to be a PhD student in Australia, how much money should I have? By the way, thank you for my pleasure. Bir şey değil. Look, Inanch, the way it works with a PhD, again, in the chat section, there's my email. You're more than welcome to send me all these questions and I can communicate directly with you. Most of our international students who are doing PhDs have scholarships that their supervisors find for them. They're not guaranteed, but part of the supervisor's job is to find some kind of funding for PhD students. So I can't really give that information because you might have a PhD student from America who is on a completely full scholarship, everything, food, accommodation, studies. But then you may have another PhD student who has to pay for accommodation but is getting his tuition fee covered. So PhD sponsorship is different depending on what the supervisor can find for you. Okay, but like what I said earlier on, Inanch, if you send me an email, I will point you in the right direction of how to apply for a PhD with Macquarie University. And depending on your master's degree, you may be able to go directly into a PhD, or they may want you to do 1 year of a Master's of Research just so that you become familiar with the research methodology. Faiza, do we need to get IELTS or TOEFL? You have a Master's from the USA. Faiza, when did you finish your Master's in the USA? How many years ago? Abba, do you have programs for the Master's degree? Yes, we have 300 Master's programs. Everything, Masters of Arts, all the arts programs, all the business programs, the science programs, the health programs, everything. So we've got more than 300 master's degrees. Baran, is there any noticeable difference in quality of education between private? That is a very, very good question. Between private and public universities in Australia. No, there's not any. I would argue that there's no difference in the quality of education, because every institution in Australia is overseen by our Ministry of Education, okay? Which means that if it's a public institution or a private institution, the Minister of Education still has to tick off, they have to sign off, they have to accredit, they have to mandate, they have to approve every single program, every single qualification of the teachers. So Macquarie, Australian universities, as I said, there are 42 or 43 universities in Australia. Only one is private. That's Bond University on the Gold Coast. It's expensive. It's much more expensive, but the facilities are amazing because it's so much more expensive. So in terms of quality of education, I would say it's very, very mandated at a government level. And again, in terms of quality, it depends what you mean. So if you look at our rankings, Macquarie University is ranked number 214 in the world. Sydney University is ranked number 25 in the world. But the rankings are basically down to not so much the quality of education, but the quantity and quality of research done at the top end. So if you're going into a bachelor's degree or a master's degree and it's a coursework program, not research, I would say that Australian universities really do travel at the same speed. Some universities are stronger in some areas than others. For example, at Macquarie, we are super strong in things like accounting, in actuarial science, in psychology. And then if you go to another university, they may be stronger in something else. So it's different depending on which individual area. But overall, I would say Australian institutions all travel at a similar speed. Fatih, actually, I want to study university. Can I have the opportunity to master's computer and software engineering if school is over? So software engineering, we only do at bachelor's level. If you go to master's level, we only have electronics engineering or electrical engineering or engineering management. But if you're coming out of high school, we have a bachelor's degree in software engineering. Faiza, no, you would need to do IELTS, because the IELTS, even though you did your master's degree in English in Connecticut, it was more than 2 years ago. If you had graduated within 2 years, it probably would be okay. But because it was 6 years ago, you would still need to sit a TOEFL or an IELTS. Let's see what's in the chat box. Okay, Burçe. Arkadaşlar, Macquarie University. Arkadaşlar. Does that mean friends?
That is.
Okay.
Oh, Anthony, we are running out of time. So is there anything you would like to add before we say goodbye?
I mean, obviously, it's quite difficult to tell you everything about Australia and Macquarie in just sort of 1 hour. So, like I said, I have put my email address in the chat section. You know, I sit, because of the COVID-19, I'm not traveling so much now, so I sit in front of the computer pretty much all day long. Send me an email, guys. I'm more than happy to start correspondence with you directly. We do have a number of representatives and partners that work with us that are based in Turkey, who are very, very familiar with our application processes, the visa situation, advising you on funding and everything like that. So if you are interested in more information, please send me an email. I'm happy to help you out. Macquarie is, as I said, it's a very welcoming institution. I've been there now for about nearly 5 years. And it's a wonderful place. It's very inclusive. It's a single campus university. And our students are very, very happy there. Check out Macquarie University on Facebook and also the Macquarie University YouTube channel. And then you can have a look at some of the videos. In fact, that's a really good idea. Check out Macquarie University on YouTube, and you can actually see little videos about some of the programs, the student experience. Okay, Abba, what about scholarships for international students, please? We don't have full scholarships, Abba, Mele, Malum, Umar. What we have is $5,000 discounts for Europeans and for Africans. Let's have a look in the chat box. Let's have a see what we got there. Okay, e-posta adresini nerede bulabilirim? Okay, I'll write it down again. I think that means where is your email address, doesn't it?
Yes, that's right. Also, somebody copied your email address in the chat box again.
Oh, did they? Okay, brilliant. I'll just do it again as well. Anthony, but there we go. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Esin. You're ahead of me. Okay, Faiza, my pleasure. Bir şey değil. Çok teşekkürler. Okay.
That's right.
It's very nice to see Turkish again. It was my favorite of all. I've traveled to many, many countries, and Turkey is always one of my favorite countries to visit. And I just think on my final notice, I will just say my one phrase of Turkish that I remember from 30 years ago when I lived there. I used to travel between Kadıköy across to Teşvikiye by dolmuş, and I had to learn the phrase "Müsait bir yerde inebilir miyim?" And it took me a very, very long time to learn that.
That's amazing. We would like to see you again very soon in Turkey. Yeah. So we'd be happy to welcome you again here.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, as soon as the travel restrictions are lifted, I will definitely be planning visits over to Turkey. And I would love to meet, obviously catch up with you, Burçe, but to catch up with anybody that wants, information put face to face.
Sounds great. We are looking forward to it.
All right.
So thank you very much for the great presentation. It was really fun and detailed one. So bye-bye.
My pleasure, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care. Keep in touch.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Niaz, Whirling Dervishes in Konya. That's right.